Another day, another yogurt. I don't know if you guys can tell, but it is crazy how bright it is right now at like 6 o'clock in the morning. It's been so hot in Taiwan. So yeah, eating my breakfast and then getting ready for another day. Welcome back to day 2 of the Friends of TLPGA tournament, where I will be taking you through my round again today, but maybe have a little bit more analysis as to what I feel like I can improve. So yesterday I kind of just showed you guys the golf course, so today let's get started again on hole 1. I actually basically hit it down the same right side of this hole, but a little bit less right than yesterday, so I thought that I would have a decent shot, because as you could see yesterday, it bounced back into the fairway or to the rough, but I actually got stopped by a branch, which was pretty unlucky because as you can see, the slope is pretty steep, so most likely if you hit that slope, it's going to kick left, but my ball got stopped by a branch, so I had to chip out. And then I unfortunately chipped out a little bit too hard and ended up in one of the worst positions, which is a 50-yard bunker shot. So definitely not ideal, so I was happy just to give myself a shot over here. I ended up hitting that to 10 feet, which I was very happy about, because as we all know, a 50-yard bunker shot is just one of the hardest shots to hit. So I ended up leaving myself with this 10 feet putt for par on the first hole and did not end up making it, but ended up just giving myself a tap-in bogey here. Not ideal, but we started the same way yesterday, so we know we can come back from it. On the second hole, unfortunately, we don't have a video of the drive, but I hit it down the center and left myself with 108 yards to the pin. We had a back pin today, so I went with a 54 because of how firm the greens have been. Ended up leaving it a bit short, but still gave myself about a 20-footer for birdie. Ended up hitting a pretty decent putt, but just did not have enough speed, which I think you guys should know by now is quite a common theme out here because of the slow greens. I think one thing that I can definitely improve on is to be able to adapt faster, especially when it comes to putting, because it is quite hard, because I kind of worked for quite a long time to not hit the putts as much and to just stroke it to let the ball roll. But in Taiwan, you definitely need to be able to hit the putts, especially when the greens are playing slow. But anyway, we managed to get a par on the second hole, so we move on to the third hole, which as you guys should know, it's a par 3. It's playing 148 yards today with the slope, but the wind is definitely stronger today than yesterday, so we do have to account for that. I ended up hitting it pretty decently, leaving myself about a 27-foot putt for birdie here. It is a bit of a downhill putt, a bit right to left as well. So again, at this point in time, just trying to get myself to hit good, decent speed putts. I did end up hitting that past the hole, which I was happy about. I ended up leaving it a bit further than I wanted to. It was about a 3-foot putt left for par. But like I said, I wanted to be a bit more aggressive today just to make sure that I get the ball to the hole. So we successfully saved the par there, and we have the next hole, which is an elevated dogleg left par 4. If you guys saw this hole, it is basically one of them where you can just send it. There is OB down the left side and there's a hazard down the right side, but the wind is also pushing right to left. So for today, I'm just aiming it down the center and let my draw naturally take place, which should leave it in the center of the fairway. I ended up just in the side of the rough here, which was not too bad of a spot. It was playing 87 yards to a pin that was 11 on and 5 from the left, so I didn't have much space down the left side, but I thought that with a 58 I would be able to control the ball a little bit more. But however, as you can see, the wind was pretty strong today, so I think the greens are playing pretty firm as well, and my ball just bounced over, leaving myself with this chip here. I think you can see that I definitely expected it to be faster than that. It was downhill as well, but maybe it was kind of going into the wind as well, so it might have affected the chip. I'm not too sure, but I ended up leaving myself with about a 6-footer left for par, so it wasn't too bad of a chip shot. Definitely could have been more aggressive with it, but I felt quite confident over this putt and I thought I hit a good one. But as you can tell, even from yesterday's video, definitely a lot of lip outs on this golf course. It's kind of one of the things as well when you don't play on super pure green. Sometimes you just have to Hit a good stroke and hope that it goes in, and if it does, it does. If it doesn't, it doesn't. So next up we have a dogleg left par 4. I'm going for 3 wood today. Yesterday I went with a 7 wood because the wind is definitely stronger today and it's into us, so I didn't really need to hit a 3 wood, but I kind of wanted to give myself a little bit more distance out there, and I ended up leaving myself in the center of the fairway, pretty ideal. On this hole I always end up with a downhill Lido and to an elevated fairway, so I still ended up hitting my 7 wood for my second shot. Basically my 7 wood will not reach that bunker on the right side, which gives me a bit more room to be able to aim either down the right or the left side, because this fairway does kick to the left as well. So with a 7 wood I'm able to just aim at the bunker and let the fairway contour take it, knowing that it's not going to reach that bunker. So my 7 wood left me in a good spot. I ended up having 111 yards with the slope to a back pin. So it's a pretty tricky pin down the left side, and I ended up going with a 50-degree wedge here. I was honestly just trying to get it up that slope because I know that it's a pretty tricky slope up there. Hit a good 50-degree wedge into that and gave myself about a 12-foot downhill putt for birdie, but again ended up putting that short, which was definitely very frustrating because it looked pretty quick and it definitely wasn't. But we will take another par on this hole and move on to the next hole. This next hole is this tricky par 3 where we are really just always trying to hit this green because it is a tricky green and it is also pretty long. Like I'm hitting a 6 iron here and it's to a front pin with the wind blowing from behind. So I know it's going to be pretty firm and hard to stop this ball close to the pin. But all I can do is hit a good shot, which I did, and I was definitely happy with the shot that I hit. And I still ended up leaving myself a pretty long putt, but that's pretty much the best that I could do with a 6 iron into that green. So I ended up having about a 30 feet putt here for birdie. And again, at this point, trying to get good speed here, knowing that it's downhill, but still trusting that I have to hit it. And honestly, hit such a good putt, like half the ball was in the hole, and I don't know how that didn't drop. So that was very unfortunate. I thought that that was so good, but was waiting there hoping, because literally half of it was in the hole, but it just wasn't meant to be this time. So we will try again in the following holes. Moving on to hole 7. This is one of the holes that you can again send it. It's an uphill par 4. So some of you guys are wondering why there's a disparity in like the driving distances. Like some holes I'm hitting at 220, some holes I'm hitting at 280. And it's, first of all, you guys have to understand that the distances that they count is usually just a straight line to the pin. Also, there's slopes, like this hole is about 10 to 12 yards depending on where you're hitting it uphill. And it's also a dog leg, so it actually ends up being longer with the dog leg. But yeah, that's probably why there's some disparity in the distances. But anyway, this is my approach shot into this green. You can see how firm that was. Like I was hitting it from the fairway and the ball bounced and just released so crazy firm when I actually carried it right around pin high. So walking up here, I was definitely quite surprised to see that I was so far over the pin, but what can you do about it at this point? Just trying to hit a good chip shot. I had a 58-degree wedge here, again reminding myself to be aggressive, because it's a downhill shot, but you still have to be aggressive because it is into the wind. So I ended up leaving myself about a 3-foot putt left for par, which I was happy about because I was aggressive with the chip, committed to it, and hit a good chip, which is all you can do. So this was my 3-foot putt coming back for par on this hole. Looking back at that putt, I don't know if it's a camera angle, but it definitely looked further than 3 feet. But anyway, we move on to the next hole, which is this par 5. It's a dog leg left par 5. So there's a water hazard on the left side and the wind is blowing towards the right. So it's not an easy tee shot because we need to aim it kind of towards the right side of the water hazard, but making sure that we don't aim it too far left because the water hazard is definitely in play. So I ended up in the center of the fairway, but decided to lay up with a hybrid because it's quite a narrow second shot and there really wasn't any point going with 3 wood because I'd probably put myself in a bunker. So ended up leaving myself about 86 yards left to this pin. I was going with a 54-degree wedge here. It is into the wind, so again from here just trying to get good distance control because even with the wedges the greens weren't spinning. You can see that had 0 spin on it, so it was definitely not very easy to hit it close at this point with the firm greens as well as the wind. So just trying to get good distance control and give myself putts on the green. So we saved another par there, so we move on to hole 9, which is a par 4. Pretty straightforward par 4. You can see that the wind is all blowing towards the left today, so we kind of are trying to get it somewhere in the center bunker, so that would be a good location there. And I hit a pretty good drive, left myself somewhere in the fairway, which is really all we need on this hole because it's not too long of a hole. For my second shot, I ended up having about 94 yards. You can see that I didn't have the best lie. I was kind of in a semi-divot, so I was trying to put the ball position a bit further back and just kind of hit a trap shot. So going my 58-degree wedge here, and I honestly hit the shot that I was trying to hit because I wanted to land it in front and let it bounce, but it just took such a big bounce left, which I was not expecting it to. So not the best result for what I thought was a good shot, but left myself with this 5 yards chip here just off the green, which was not a bad position at all to be in. And ended up having a nice little chip-in birdie there on the 9th. So we ended up crossing over at 1 over par, so we have got hole 10, which is a par 5 here, so we have an opportunity to make up a stroke here. Over here, basically just need to hit this down the fairway. Anything right off that bunker would be perfect for my drive because I think I said it in the previous vlog, but if I aim it towards the bunker, I'm definitely going to run out into the bunker. So the wind here is pushing a bit right as well, so always just have to be a bit cautious. Hit a good shot, which ended up leaving me not really within green distance, so I ended up going with a hybrid here because it is into the wind as well, so there's no point leaving myself in an awkward distance. So hit a hybrid, left myself with about 100 yards into this green. The pin was on the left today, so again into the wind, just trying to hit a good distance control shot here. Hit a good shot, but it is just crazy how much that took a bounce. I don't know, it almost kind of looked like it hit the pin a little bit, but I'm not sure. It just took a massive bounce off the green, so decided to go with a putter here because it was not a bad lie at all. Had about maybe 6 yards and hit a good putt there, almost had it, so just a tap in par on this hole. So the next hole, we have this beautiful par 3. On this hole, the wind is always coming off the coast, and today the pin is on the right side. So yesterday I actually hit it where today's pin was, so I thought I would just hit the same kind of shot, but I just hit one of those shots that was like a pull shot, and then of course with the wind blowing as well, it just took it so far left, which was definitely not what I was trying to do. But luckily our ball is safe and it's not in a bad spot. I had about 25 yards, so I decided to go with a 54-degree wedge here. It's a little bit in the rough, so I decided to hit one where I definitely wanted to be aggressive with this because I know that I have quite a lot of green to work with. And I ended up hitting a really good chip shot. It actually hit the pin, so ended up with a tap-in par there, which we can't complain about when we miss the green. Hole 12 is a tricky hole because it is long, and it's kind of funny because the target actually is over that cart path. So it's a bit of a dogleg right hole, and those bunkers all the way far out, it's actually about 300 yards to reach them, so you can't get there. But the more you cut down the right side, the shorter your approach shot is going to be. So I hit it down the center, but it just wasn't the best contact, so I ended up with 176 yards to the pin. The pin today was back left, so actually where the pin was today was where I hit it yesterday. So again, I was just trying to hit the shot which I hit yesterday, but yesterday I had an 8-iron into this green, so I did not hit a perfect shot and I ended up catching it a bit thin, which resulted in it being short. So we had this about 25 yards chip shot, and I was going a 54-degree wedge here. Wanted to try to be aggressive, but that's kind of the problem as well because I'm not really hitting shots like that I would normally hit. I'm just always trying to be aggressive on these greens, which can definitely be rewarding, but also sometimes can result in this kind of shots where I chipped it way too far, leaving myself with like 10 feet for par, which is obviously not ideal. So this was not where I was trying to be, but also I thought it was a good putt, but it just kind of bounced offline, which what can you do about that? So I ended up with a bogey in that hole, but we just have to accept it. It is the longest hole on the course anyway, so we move on to the next hole. So if you saw day one's vlog, you know that we hit this right into those trees and ended up having to have a chip out. So today we are definitely making sure that our target is good. we ended up hitting a good shot here, but actually it was a little bit further left than I was expecting it to be. So I left myself with 135 yards to an uphill green, but the pin today was kind of on the right side of this green. So you can see I'm on a bit of a downhill lie, and I definitely need to work on this where it's a bit of a downhill lie, the wind is pushing left, and I know that it's going to lead the ball left, but I tend to just not really trust aiming far enough right, which is kind of funny because a lot of times my tendency is to aim too far right, but in that instance when I should be aiming right but the pin's on the right side, I tend to be a bit too cautious and not aim it far right enough. So ended up still on the green but just not very close. So I had this putt for birdie, not too bad of a putt, but just did not have enough speed again, so leaving myself with another 3-footer left for par. Hole 14 is this beautiful par 4, but definitely very tricky, especially when the wind picks up. It's always blowing everything right, and from this elevation, when the wind picks up, it definitely affects the ball a lot. And on the right side and the left side, we both have OBs. So I'm actually very proud of myself for how well I hit the drives on this hole, because I remember last year this hole was very tricky to me because it was just not suitable for my eye, but I ended up hitting a good shot here. Left myself with 103 yards to a front pin, and this is definitely one of the areas that I need to work on. I knew that I had more than enough club with my 50-degree wedge, but because the wind was blowing from behind, I was like almost afraid to be too long. And we know that to a front pin, like even if you're long, you're still going to be putting from the green, whereas over here I tried to control it too much and ended up leaving myself with a chip shot, which is obviously not ideal, especially when you have a short club into the green. So that's definitely an area that I need to work on, to just trust to commit to whatever I've chosen instead of still doubling it over the shot, because that always results in a worse shot. So next up we have this par 3. The pin is down the right side, so the wind is also pushing it left, which is, like you can see, there's actually a lot of room right, but I do need to make sure that because I play a draw and obviously it's going to be more affected by when the wind is pushing it left. On a lot of these shots, I just don't aim far enough right because I don't want to miss the green right, which I think leaves me with a much longer putt. I mean, it's not bad. Like I had a 33 feet putt here, so it's not the end of the world, but I can definitely, or should definitely be leaving myself closer than this. So hit a good putt there, but again just not enough speed, not enough line as well, so ended up with this 3 feet putt left for par. Hole 16, I wish we had a video from the back because it is actually quite a challenging tee shot because it is such a severe, it's literally 90 degrees dogleg right. So for this tee shot, I actually am just basically hitting it into the trees and just trusting that if I have enough carry, it's going to be in the center of the fairway. And luckily I did hit a good shot here, just hitting a 3-wood and giving myself a good position on the fairway. Left myself with 72 yards here, which is pretty ideal. The pin today is kind of at the back as well, so just trying to land this somewhere in the center to make sure that it bounces to the pin rather than bouncing over, which is what happened yesterday. So hitting a half 58-degree wedge here and hit a pretty decent shot there, left me about 8 feet for birdie. So another putt that just unfortunately kissed the side of the hole and didn't want to drop, so another par there, which we will take and move on to hole 17, which I think is one of the trickier holes on this course, honestly, because of the green. Like, it's a pretty challenging green, and if you miss it, you are not going to be in a good position. So I hit a pretty okay shot, like it was fine, like not perfect, but still on the fairway, which left myself with 162 yards to the pin. The pin today is front right, so quite challenging because if you miss it right, you're not going to be in a good spot. And my ball is actually in a divot here, so I was really trying to catch it clean, and I ended up catching it too clean and pushed it a bit right, which left me in a really bad spot. But I hit honestly the perfect chip shot here. That was all about trajectory control because I had a bit of an uphill slope from the rough, so I was very happy with that chip shot, leaving myself with this basically simple 2 feet par, which honestly, when you're in trouble, if you have an easy par, you should give yourself a pat on the back. So finally, we have reached the last hole, which is this par 5. I quite enjoy this par 5 because it's a challenging one, and oh my gosh, I just realized there's a person peeing at the back. I'm so sorry for that, guys. But yeah, anyway, sorry, that is very distracting now that I've seen it and I can't unsee it. Sorry, but yep, sorry dude, caught you on camera. Anyway, I hit it down the fairway and we decided to go with the layup because honestly it's just too much of a risk to go for this green. And with how firm the greens are, if I did go for the green, I don't think I could potentially stop it on the green. So there's really no point, because if you're over this green, you're pretty much in a really bad spot. So just a layup to this about 100-yard shot here with a 50-degree wedge. Pin is tucked left today, so have to hit a good shot here. Wanting to give myself a look here because I'm currently 2 over par, so definitely wanted to hit a good shot there. Try to stick it close. Hit a decent shot. Definitely wanted to be on this side of the pin because it was an easier putt. So was really wanting this to drop. Just one to end the day, and luckily for us, it finally dropped. Birdie to finish the round and finishing it at 1 over par for the day. So we can definitely see that we have lots of room for improvement, but there were some positives as well. So stay tuned for footage of the final round and I will catch you guys then.